Welcome to the National Library of Jamaica's celebration of World Book and Copyright Day 2021 under the theme, Read So You Never Feel Alone. Jamaican authors at home and in the diaspora are celebrating with us by reading from their books, which they have compiled and deposited at the National Library of Jamaica in an effort to keep building our heritage and history. To begin, we will hear remarks from the Honorable Olivia Grange, CD, MP, Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, followed by Dr. Saadia Sanchez-Vegas, Director of the UNESCO Cluster Office for the Caribbean.
We spend a lot of time reading from screens these days, but there's just something special about picking up a book, turning the pages, and entering a world curated by the author. Many of us have rediscovered the pleasures of reading during this pandemic as we turned to books when we had to distance from family and friends. So if you're feeling isolated, I encourage you to read so you are never alone. At the same time, I encourage more Jamaicans to write and publish because it's so important that we tell our stories from our unique perspectives. Our songwriters are lyricists, and many of our musicians are composers, and our visual artists are storytellers. You too can publish books. Make use of the provisions of the Copyright Act and the mechanisms through JIPO, JamCopy, JCAP, JAMS, and the National Library of Jamaica to protect and promote your work. And please remember to deposit a copy of your work at the National Library, which is the keeper of the nation's archive of printed and digital publications. I now invite you to enjoy this treat from the National Library, which has assembled authors from across the world to read passages from their works in this special celebration of World Book and Copyright Day.
Message from Mesotria Soule, Director General of UNESCO, on the occasion of World Book and Copyright Day, 23rd April 2021. In this period of uncertainty, many people are turning to books to help them escape lockdown and cope with anxiety. Indeed, books have the unique ability both to entertain and to teach. They are a means of exploring realms beyond our personal experience through exposure to different authors, ideas, and cultures. They are a means of accessing the deepest places in our minds. Page by page, books light a path for us to roam unbound by time or borders. In other words, books give us freedom. It is the power of books that we all need right now, as we are reminded of the fundamental importance of literature as well as the arts in our life. In celebrating books, we are also celebrating their authors and provide us with snips of life and insights into other realities. They open a window into the world, more precisely, a window onto other worlds and other forms of existence. And for this reason, every year, on 23rd April, the day on which the honorable authors William Shakespeare, Miguel de Cervantes, and Inca Garcilaso de la Vega passed away, we celebrate writers whose work have been captivating our imagination for centuries. Today, we also pay homage to all the professions associated with books: editing, translation, publishing, and book selling. These fields make it possible to disseminate our heritage to allow for the expressions of new ideas and to enable the spread of stories. These professions must be protected and their value acknowledged. This is all the more relevant in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, which poses a deep and lasting threat to culture. This is why UNESCO is supporting the work of publishers through undertakings such as its partnership with the International Federation of Library Associations and Institutions, IFLA, and the International Publishers Association, IPA. The power of books must be fully harnessed. We must ensure their access so that everyone can take refuge in reading and by doing so be able to dream, learn, and reflect. This is the significance of the commitment made by Tbilisi, Georgia, which becomes the 2021 World Book Capital on 23rd April. UNESCO designated this city because of its focus on the use of modern technologies to promote reading among young people. Their program, OK, so your next book is, has worked to transform books into digital games and help ensure access to all. At a time when reading is invaluable, the importance of our commitment to integration, education, and peace in and through reading becomes crystal clear. For this year's edition of World Book and Copyright Day, I therefore encourage each and every one of you to pick up a book, start turning its pages, and draw from it a breath of fresh air, which will help sustain you now and in the future.
Books have been used as a vehicle to pass on knowledge and information, for entertainment and inspiration, and to give people an avenue for self-expression. So, let's dive in.
This new book is called Reimagining Communication in Africa and the Caribbean, Global South Issues in Media, Culture, and Technology. The book consists of 19 chapters from 22 contributors who are scholars based in Africa and the Caribbean. I will now read from the introductory chapter, subtitled Releasing the Psychic Inheritance. This volume turns the spotlight on some parts of Africa and the Caribbean, which are two global South regions that are in search of their own solutions, their own voices, and their own analytical tools to better understand the contemporary roles of technology, culture, and communication. Most parts of Africa and the Caribbean share a history of colonialism and European hegemony lasting over centuries. The two regions were polar sites for the abhorrent human trafficking activities in a slave trade that demeaned all its key actors and victims at various stages of the process, including those at the center of the human trafficking in Africa, the prime enforcers and economic beneficiaries in Europe, and the vast number of enslaved Africans whose destinations included not only colonized regions of the Caribbean, but also the wider Americas. Despite the indignity, brutality, and genocide visited upon our people by European invaders and colonizers, the peoples of these two regions have survived. They won hard-fought colonial struggles, some emerging to establish vibrant, renewed societies with diverse cultural and ethnic communities. In the present era, Africa and the Caribbean share numerous affinities and a modern political and cultural history of people-to-people solidarity. New shoots of this historical, political, and cultural interaction have been emerging in recent decades with prospects of societal renewal and economic and technological transformation. At the same time, new surges of cross-border migration and human trafficking have added complexity to a human process of becoming that is forever in flux in Africa and the Caribbean. It is akin in an era described by Mbembe as the post-colony, and I quote, a period of embedding, a space for proliferation that is not only solely disorder, chance, and madness, but emerges from a sort of violent gust with its languages, its beauty, its ugliness, its ways of summing up the world. Close quotes. Whatever form that African and Caribbean existence takes, the story must be told mainly by the people who live these experiences, who observe the unfolding episodes firsthand, and who must critically evaluate the journeys of the continent, of the regions, and of our associated communities. The search for our own voices is what this book is about. Eminent Caribbean scholar and late Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, Rex Nettleford, urged the people of both the Caribbean and Africa to build on the lessons learned in the cauldron of mutual oppression and hegemony. For him, the central lesson for institutions as well as individuals is, and I quote, the ongoing need to facilitate the release of the populations from a psychic inheritance of self-doubt, close quotes, so that new generations emerging from these regions can, quote, shape a civil society based on free will, individual rights, mutual respect, equity, and social justice. This volume, then, is also about taking responsibility to be the narrators of our own stories, to be the theorists of our own lived experiences, and to empower a new generation of scholars, willing and able to help mold the present and future of education, the present and future of culture, of media, and of technology, particularly in Africa and the Caribbean.
I am Malik Muhammad, and it is an honor to share with you a few excerpts from my book, Coffee and Contemplations. The book is not about coffee. It is about encouraging you to create a moment in your day where you can slow down, reflect, think about the great things you want for yourself, your family, your business. An opportunity to contemplate. Life rewards us with measurable results when we actively engage in creating our blessings. Being here on earth without progressing means we merely exist. Push forward within the realities of your current situation. You are only competing with yourself to be better. You are not in competition with anyone else, and it is a pointless distraction to believe you are. Stay with your visions. Modify them on your terms. Handle your business. Foster the ability to stick with what you want for your life. This is why it takes self-discipline to exercise your ability to stick with what you started. Learn how to see things through. Stay close to and on top of the vision you are committed to bringing forth. Handle your business with laser-sharp focus and avoid distractions. Invest in yourself. Here's the ABC of how you develop or maintain stickability, i.e., the ability to stick to what you started. A. Love your mission, project, or activity and remember why you are doing it. The reason will keep you inspired and recharge you when it gets difficult. B. Envision how you will feel when the mission, project, or activity is complete and anchor that feeling in your subconscious mind right now. See the finished project in your mind, and it will help you to understand how every step you take in the present is necessary for the future achievement. C. Put in the effective work. Form alliances with the right people. Reward yourself. Be flexible yet focused in your approach. Nurture your body, mind, and soul, and enjoy the process. There is a time and place for proving yourself. The key is not to allow others to dictate when and how you prove yourself. This strength can be used against you as you end up moving to their agenda instead of your own. They say you can't, you need to prove them wrong, thus giving away your personal power in the process. There is no shame in knowing when to cease and desist in relation to unproductive missions, projects, or activities. That's what I mean by not allowing strength to become weakness. There is much value in finishing what we start and seeing things through. It takes a special person, a person like you, to exercise due diligence and patience when making things happen. History plays a symphony of strong stories about people who were committed to a higher cause. Jamaica gives us Nanny of the Maroons, who focused on strategically liberating her people from British rule and carving out independent territory. Winston Churchill played a sterling role as British Premier during the Blitz, Battle of Britain, and Dunkirk. Ethiopia has been one of the few states to withstand the scramble for Africa by major European powers in the late 19th century due to the leadership of His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie I. The point is not whether we hold their causes noble or even whether we agree with what they stood for. The point is that they were committed, and commitment is an attribute of stickability. When you want to achieve something, you must develop your ability to intelligently stick with it and measure your progress. You must put in strategic work to keep mastering your craft and cultivate what you envision. I have 8 principles or tools you can use to help achieve your visions. Would you like to hear them?
Hi, my name is Stephen Thompson, and I am the author of Breaking Everyday Frustration in Life and Relationship. Today, I will be reading a portion on unrealistic expectations. We would all love to have a relationship that suits us at some point in our lives. We may have spent time trying to find that perfect person who could meet all our expectations in a relationship. The truth is that we have picked up many of our unrealistic expectations from romantic movies, television shows, and fictional novels. We have been convinced that what we see or read are what we deserve in a relationship. The reality, however, is that there is no perfect relationship, no matter how perfect those involved try to make it to be. What we can do is make our relationship more fulfilling and exciting. A good relationship will require hard work, effort, and dedication from both parties. I have seen where unrealistic expectations in a relationship or even in a friendship leads to arguments and chaos that broke the relationship apart. When we harbor unrealistic expectations, they become dangerous and will leave a lot of people trying to do damage control or cope with the collateral damage. As we take a deeper focus on unrealistic expectations, let us zoom in on those that are plaguing marriages. As mentioned, we have adopted what we have seen in the media as what we should expect in our relationship, and many marriages are struggling because of these. Let us look on this one. First, everything will always go smoothly and right. In every relationship, there will be challenges. At these times, you have to stand hand in hand with your partner to get through the hard times together. It is not only unrealistic to expect things will always go smoothly, but it is also one of the ingredients to break your relationship. Mainly because you will not be prepared and willing to walk in life with your partner. These challenges will not happen all the time, but at some point, in whatever form they will come. So, it is best to acknowledge this fact than to expect that everything will always be easy.
Hello, I am Debbie Ann Hall, author of God in My Every Step, a 21-day devotional for women. Today, I'll be reading an excerpt from my book. Day 17, Move to Another Location. And no one puts new wine into old wineskins, for the wine would burst the wineskins, and the wine and the skins would be both lost. New wine calls for new wineskins. Mark 2, verse 22, New Living Translation. So I have this plant on my veranda that I love dearly. However, for more than a year now, it has been outgrowing its pot. I'm always planning to buy another pot, but I've just never gotten around to doing it. One morning, I was struggling with a major life decision. Even though I had heard God's voice regarding the situation, I still wanted to receive further clarity and certainty before I took this bold step. In my heart, I wanted to obey God, but I still desired comfort. I didn't want God to rock my boat or ruffle my feathers. As I moved toward the plant to water it, I heard the Lord saying to me, "You're like this plant. You have outgrown your environment, and you will cease to continue growing if you don't change your location." Just as how you look at this plant and remember how it used to bloom in the past, similarly, if you don't move, people will only look at you and remember what you used to do. Instantly, my heart was convicted. Although I must admit that I still tried to shift my beloved plant in its old pot so that it could stand straight. When I did this, I realized that there was a new leaf budding. However, it was hidden because the plant could not stay straight. That also taught me a lesson. Sometimes we are trying to grow in situations where we don't belong anymore. Even though we may bloom a little and persons will admire our achievements, we will never maximize our full potential until we shift and move to another location. Are you trying to fit in places where you have outgrown? God wants to pour new wine into you, give you new experiences, and cause you to move to a higher level. However, this cannot happen if you keep holding on to the familiar, what you know, and past experiences. You can't receive God's precious gift if you don't release what is in your hand. I encourage you today to let go of the old season and embrace new beginnings. You will never know your true potential until you make the first step of faith. God bless you.
Hi, I'm Anna Perkins, and I'm one of the co-authors of Rough Riding, Tanya Stevens and the Power of Music to Transform Society. And this book is co-edited with Adwa Honora and Ajumunwangwaya. I'm going to share with you today a small section of one of the chapters that I have in the book. And this chapter is entitled A Bunch of Righteous Freaks, Tanya, God, Christians, and the Bible. Christian believers are a special target for Tanya's critical commentary on faith, faithfulness, and discipleship. She takes her most powerful broadside at Christians in a song called Sunday Morning on the album Revolution, which follows a piece entitled Cherry Brandy. Cherry brandy, which extols the value of very friendly alcohol to dull the pain of love lost, is preceded by a ringing phone, dishes splattering, moaning and groaning, and drinks pouring. The context is unmistakable. Saturday morning is what results from a little too much cherry brandy. It tells the sadly humorous tale of a woman who awakens to find herself having to deal with the consequences of liaisons with Smirnoff and Mr. Bacardi the night before. An ugly, sexually satiated stranger lying in her bed. She laments. This happened before. This wasn't the first, but I got to admit this one is the worst. And where were my friends? Didn't anybody see? God Almighty, this one is ugly. Despite vowing to change her philandering ways, the unnamed woman finds herself requesting a beer, even as she dismisses her unknown yet errant lover. And, in the usual fashion of her homeland, God the Almighty is called upon to witness her weakness. Sunday morning, a spoken word piece delivered in solemn tones opens with organ music and is accompanied by a chorus of voices of a congregation who responds with laughter and shock at appropriate points. In this sermon it is, Stephen reprises the age-old critique that Christians are hypocrites and one-day Christians. She's directing her ire specifically at Christianity as it is manifested in its Sunday church-going variety. The Christianity that she rejects is the one embodied in the imperfect Christians whom she describes as a bunch of righteous freaks extorting worse than the mob. Her dismissal of certain forms of Christianity is almost Freudian, as she too sees madness and schizophrenia lurking behind such toxic fervor. The Christians whom she challenges act superior to others during the week, only deigning to invite them to church on Sundays. Their weekday behavior involves looking down at others from a pedestal on which they're so superficially perched. It would take very little to knock them off of that pedestal, it seems. In her usual satirical way, she charges in Sunday Morning that the same set of people who say God lives in the sky It's the same set of people who criticize me when I get high. And they even have a problem with my drinking. And I say, fine. But if Jesus had a problem with drinking, would he turn water into wine? Here, Stephen pokes fun at the contradictions in one-day Christianity. For her, getting high should be the right thing to do, as it should bring her closer to God, whom Christians believe lives in the sky. Her biting statements find a certain resonance in the practices of Rastafarians, an indigenous Jamaican religious group who smoke marijuana as a holy sacrament, which brings them to a spiritual plane wherein they can communicate with Jah and reason together. Stevens' critique of Christianity is resonant of the Rastafari liberty, whose adherents chart that true religion has been falsified by Christians. And to complicate matters quite a bit, Christians, who themselves accuse each other of being hypocrites and one-day Christians, chart that one or the other rival denomination has falsified the Christian religion by even worshipping on the wrong day. No wonder she's ready for a new religion.
Have ensured that all across the island there are collective occasions for the reconstruction of memory. The yearly visits to Wat Town, baptism ceremonies by the river or by the sea, especially on the Sunday morning, healing ceremony, revival tables, all serve to keep the Afro-Jamaican memory alive. The seals and symbols, the iconic spaces, rituals and ceremonies, color, dress, accessories, music and dance are all part of a body of knowledge that guards the African legacy, echoes the people's worldview, and provides the signifiers for the performance of an Afro-Jamaican identity.
We hope you've enjoyed our celebration of World Book and Copyright Day 2021. Thank you for watching. Please share your thoughts in the comment section below. A big thank you to the authors who took the time out to share their creations with us. And we hope this will inspire others to make their deposits with the NLJ as well. Let's continue to explore, discover, and connect.